Hey, what's up guys? In this video we are going to learn about this text data structure. So what is the agenda of this video? First of all, we will learn what is text data structure. Then we will learn how in this text data structure we perform push, pop and different methods and how we can add data in our stacks. So the second step is add element to the top of the stack. So in the second step we will learn how we can add elements at to the top of the stack, and then in the third step we will learn how we can remove element from the top of the stack. These will be different functions that we will create from scratch, and the third step is going to be the we will check the top element of the stack. So for example, in this diagram we will see the top element is 3, so we will check how many elements are there and what is the top element. And the next step is going to be check if stack is empty or not. This will also be a different function which will check if the stack is empty or not. Then we will check this size of the stack, how many elements are present in the stack. And in the last step what we will learn is, or what we will do is, we will print all of the elements that are present in the stack. So first of all we will start from our first step. So what is stack's data structure? So basically a stack is a data structure that holds a list of elements. A stack works based on the principle last in first out, meaning that the most recently added element is the first one to remove. A stack has two main operations that occur only at the top of the stack: push and pop. As you can see in this diagram, in the first step stack is empty, and on the second step we are adding an element with push method, and when we will add the second element it will be placed on top of the first one, and similar in the next step the next element will be placed on the previous one. And once we want to remove the element from the stack, the first one will be removed, the most recently that has been added. So a stack has two main operations that occur only at the top of the stack: push and pop. The push operation places an element at the top of the stack, whereas the pop operation removes an element from the top of the stack, as you are seeing in this diagram. A stack has many applications. For example, the simplest one is to reverse a word. To do it, you push a word into the stack letter by letter and pop the letters from the stack. The other applications of the stack are undo mechanism in text editors, syntax parsing, function call and expression conversion, and there are a lot of others. Now we have learned something about the stack, so let's go to our code editor and write a code and implement the functions with which we can add elements to the stack, remove an element from the stack, and perform some other functions. So the first step that we're going to implement is how we can add an element on the top of the stack. So first of all, let's create a class with the name of stack. So in this class I will create a constructor. So let's create a constructor here, and in this constructor what we will have, we have some of the elements. The first element that I want is the items. It will be an array, and in this array we will push and we will remove all of the elements. And the second thing that we want is the counter. So what we will do, this counter will do is, when we will add a element into the stack, it will increment the number, or it will know how many elements we have added in this stack. So this is the purpose of this variable. You will know better when we will perform and we will use it in functions. So the first function that we want to implement is, we want to add an element on top of the stack. So for this we will create a function which will be a push. So this function will receive a parameter, and first of all let's create an instance of this class. So for example, let's create a stack is equal to new stack, and we can access this push function by doing stack dot push method. And first of all, we want to push 10, and from here we pass argument of 10, and here we will receive this parameter, and we want to add this element to our array, or we can say to our stack. So let's do this. So first of all, what I want to do is, so as you will see, we have at the 0 position of the array, but in this line number 15 the counter will increment to 1, but we want to return the current index, so we will minus 1 from this counter, so it will return 0. So push method is done. We will implement it right now. So let's push some of the values. So I will push stack dot push. Let's push 20 to it, and also push 30 to it. Let's save it. And now what I will do, I also want to do a console log, and in this console log I will use template literals, and this console log will tell us, so it will tell us element which has been added in this stack. So we will get the element from the parameter of this function, and then we will say is element is added to, so it will also we will use dollar sign and curly braces, this dot counter. So what it is saying is that, oops, we want to write all of this in this template literal, cut it from here and paste it here. Now what this console log is saying, this console log is saying the element that we have passed from our function, this element is added at this index. So when we will run our code, you will see the output in the console. So let's run our code. So I will use node to run the code in the terminal. So I will use stack.js. So the code is not running, we have to save our code. Let's save it and now run it. Now you will see, so let's make it bigger. Now you will see 10 is added to 0. So we have add 10, 20 and 30 at index 0, 1 and 2. So we have to remove this add. Let's save it and run it again. So clear it, and then we will run our code. Now you will see our console is saying 10 is added at 0, 20 is added to 1, 30 is added to 2. Now we have created a push and push function which is implementing all of the logic. So what it is saying that we can add element at the top of the other elements, and we will create a pop function right now. So what this pop function will do, it will remove the element from the top of the stack. So we are done with the push function. The next thing that we are going to implement is the pop function. So let's create a pop function, and in this function what we want to do is we want to write a logic that will remove the top element of the stack. So first of all, let's check for a condition if we don't have any of the elements in this stack. So let's see. So as you see, if we have an empty stack, then we can't remove any of the elements from the stack. So we will check. So let's write a condition for it. If there is no element in this stack, then we will return undefined. Otherwise, if there are different elements in this stack, then we will remove it from top. So let's create a pop method. So first of all, let's write a condition. So in this condition, what we want to check is we want to check the counter. If this dot counter is equal to 0, so it means there is nothing in this stack. Then we want to return undefined. Otherwise, what we want to do is we want to create a variable delete item, and in this item or variable we will store the item that has been deleted, and then we will return this variable from the function. So first of all, what I will do is I will write this dot items. This is the current array, and in this array we have this dot counter -1. So this will be the top element in our stack. So we will store this variable in our delete item, and then what I will do is I will return it from this function. So when we will call this function, it will remove top element. So let's return it from this function. So one thing that we want to do is we also want to decrement the count, because in the push method, as you will see, if the element has been added in our stack, we are incremented the counter, but if the item has been removed from our stack, then we want to decrement the count, because one element will have been removed from our stack. So what I will do is I will decrement this count, so it will be counter minus minus, so it will decrement the count. We also want to console log this change, that which element has been removed, so we can visualize in our console. So let's create a console.log. So it will be console.log. Here I will use these template literals, and then I want to write this delete item, and I will write has been removed from stack. Let's save it, and now let's call it. At the bottom of this functions stack.push, I will create a stack.pop. As you will see, we will not pass any argument because we don't need any of the elements, because we are removing from the stack, not adding elements to the stack. So let's save it and clear our console, and now run our code. So it will be stack.js. So we are having error. So the name of our file is node stack.js. So let's run it again. So our code is not running. Let's debug the error. So we have created a pop, and in this function we have an error, so it will be this one. We haven't written this dot counter. Let's save it, and now our code will run. First of all, clear the console, and now run node stack.js. Now you will see, firstly we have added 10, 20 and 30 to our stack, and then we have removed the item from the top of the stack. So 30 has been removed from the stack. So as you see, 30 has been removed from the stack. So if we will write another time stack dot pop, it will remove an other element from the stack. Let's save it and let's run it again. Now you will see here 30 has been removed from the stack. So when 30 has been removed, the other element which will be present is 20, and 20 has been removed from the stack. Now at the current time there is only one element which is 10. So as you see, in this way we will remove elements from the top of the stack. So let's move to the next part of our code, which is, so let's see the third part. So we have done with the first three parts, which is what is stack's data structure. Then we have added element on the top of the stack. In the third step we have removed an element from the top of the stack. Now we will create the third function which will check the top element of the stack. So for this we will create an other function which will be called peak. So on the bottom of this pop function, what we will do is we will create a peak function. So this function will be very simple one. what it will do is it will return the current element, or we can say the current element which is present at the top. So let's create a function which will be called peak. So in this function we want to return one thing which will be the current top element. So this will be this dot counter minus 1. So this will return the current element which is at the top of the stack. We also want to console log it, so we can visualize in our console which is top element. So I will also use template literals here. So here I will say top element is, then I will use dollar sign and curly braces, this dot counter minus 1. Now let's save it. What this function will do, this function will return the top element. So for example, if the top element is 2, this function will return the 2. Otherwise, if the top element is 3, it will return the 3. So let's see, let's call this function under the push method. So when we will call here, the top element is 30, but if we call under this pop, the 30 will be removed and the last element that we will get is 20. So let's call this function here, so it will be peak. Let's save it, and now clear the terminal and we will run our code. So now let's see what is happening in the terminal. Now we have added 10 at index 0, 20 at index 1, 30 at index 2. This will be these 3 lines, and then the top element is 2 here. So the top element is 2 because this is returning the index of this element, the top element, the index of the top element. So the top element is 2 because 0, 1 and 2 we have 33 elements and the indexing is stored from 0. Then the pop method are implementing and these are removing the top elements, so it will remove 30 and 20. So if we'll check here what is the top element, so it will return 0. So let's return, let's run. Now you will see a changes here. So we have removed all of the elements. We want to implement the peak, not the pop. Let's save it, clear it and run the code again. Now you will see the top element is 0 because we have removed 2 of the elements from this stack, which is 30 and 20, and the last one which has been remained is this 10, which has the index of 0. So we have done with the push, pop and peak methods. The next thing that we want to implement is to check if the stack is empty or not. So for this we will create another function which will check if the stack is empty or not. So let's create a new function, and the new function is going to be under this function, which is going to be the is empty. So what this function will do, this function will simply return if the stack is empty. So if the stack is going to be the empty one, then we will return this, our counter will be 0, is equal to 0. So what we will do is we will return our counter is equal to 0. So if our counter is 0, then we will return it from this function. Now let's also console log it so we can visualize. Oops. So we will use template literals, and first of all write a condition. So the condition is going to be the if the counter is equal to 0, then what we will do is we will run a code that stack is empty now. Otherwise the stack is not empty, so we will write the stack is not empty. Let's save it, and now at last call this function is empty. Let's save it, clear the terminal, and let's see. So we will run our code. Now you will see the stack is not empty because there is one element here which is at the 0 index 10. So let's remove all of the elements. I will call stack dot pop once again. Let's save it and clear it. Now run the code again. Now you'll see the stack is empty now because we have removed all of the elements from the stack. So the empty function is simply checking if there is element in the stack or not. So we are done with the is empty function. So we have checked if the stack is empty or not. Now this second function is going to be what is the size of the stack. So we will check the size of the stack. So for this, similar with other function, so first of all let's remove some of this code. We have some push methods and then peek and pop, and then we will use some is empty, which will check if there is empty or not. Now let's create a new function which will be the size. So what this function will do, this function will check the size of the counter. So this is a very easy step. It will simply return this dot counter. So it will return the variable which has been stored in the counter. So the variable that is stored in the counter is simply the number of elements in the stack. So I will also console it. So the number of elements in the stack, or then I will use this $sign curly braces, which will be this dot counter. So the number of elements will be stored in this counter. Let's save it, clear the terminal, and run the code again. Now you will see, so we have to call it, also call this function stack dot size. Let's save it and clear the terminal, run the code again. Now you will see the number of elements in this stack are 2. So at this position we have added 3 elements to our stack, which are 10, 20 and 30. And now the next method is peek. We are checking which is the top element in this stack. So the top element is the 30, which is at the index 2. So it is returning the index of the top element. And then we are moving the one more element. So now we will have 2 elements because one has been removed by using the pop method again. So the stack dot size is going to be the 2. Number of elements in the stack are 2. So this function will check how many elements are there in the stack. So this is a very simple function which we have done. And now the last part of it is remaining, which is we want to print all of the elements that are present in the stack. So for this, what I will do is I will create a new function. So the name of this function is going to be the print, because we want to print all of the elements which are in this stack. So there are different methods that you can use to print all of the elements in this stack. I will use for loop. So first of all, I will create a variable which I will say is str. So in this variable I will add up all of the elements that our array will return. So first of all, let's run the for loop. So let I is equal to 0. I will be less than or less than equal to this dot counter, and we will increment the I. Then what I want to do is I want to add all of the elements that are returning from the array in this string variable. So let's write a code which will return an array element. So it will return the current array element. So this dot items, this is the array, and in this array which variable we want to return is the variable which is at the current position. So the current position is going to be the I. So it will loop from 0 to the counter. So for example, if there are 10 elements in the stack, the for loop will loop from 1 to the 10 position. Now let's save it. And one thing that we want to add is we also want to add a space between these variables. So let's return a string from this variable, the str variable. In this variable all of the elements has been stored. Let's save it and now call this variable here. So first of all, let's comment the remaining one so we can clearly see how many elements are there in this stack, and we will print it. So the name of the function is stack dot print. So let's save it and now run our function or our code. So first of all, clear it and then we will run our code. Now you will see we are not showing here. So let's check. The reason that we are not seeing any of the elements in our terminal is because we want to log this stack.print. So let's cut it from here, console log. So we will use console.log and we will paste it here. So in this way the result that we are getting from this function, it will log it in the terminal. So first of all, clear the terminal and now run our file. So it will be stack.js. Now you will see all of the elements that are present in the stack will be printed in the terminal. So let's run our code. Now you will see a change here. So we have to save our file, clear it, run the function, and now you will see we are returning 10, 20, 30 and then undefined. So now you are saying all of the elements that are present in this stack has been printed in our terminal. So first of all, let's uncomment all of these comments so we can see all of the result of our function in the same time. So first of all, what we have done is we have added three elements by using the push method. Then we are using peek, which is getting the top element. Then we are using pop. So the pop method will do, it will remove the top element. Then we will check the size of the elements which are present in our stack. Then it will check if the stack is empty or not. Then it will print the number of elements which are in the stack, or all of the elements that are present in the stack. So clear the console, now run. So now you will see we have found all of the result. First we have to save, that's why we are getting the previous result. Now you will see at index 0 this element 10 is added, at index 1 the element 20 is added, at index 2 the element 30 is added. So at this point what stack.peek will do, it will check the top element. So the top element is going to be at the index 0. Then the pop method will do, it will remove the top element. So the pop method will basically remove the top elements. Stack dot size will check the size of an array, and stack dot is empty will check the if the stack is empty or not. If the stack is not empty, it will print stack is not empty. And the console.log stack.print will print the number of or the different elements that are present in the stack. So these are the different methods which we will use in stack data structure. So I hope you have learned something new from this video. So if you have learned something, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to this channel. Also tell me in the comments what kind of videos you want about the data structure and algorithm in the future. I will make more videos about the different data structures that are used, which are linked list, queues, and many more. And also different videos about the algorithms also, and the problems related to them, and the applications about them. So this is the end of the tutorial. If you have any question, you can ask freely in the comments. I will try to answer your comments. So have a nice day. This is the end of the tutorial.